Okay, now it's time to put our springs on our rear tail surfaces. You'll notice that you've got several pieces of spring steel wire. They're kind of bundled together. Just separate them out. And the directions call for 3 centimeters at either end, which is going to leave us with about this much in the middle. So interesting. Let's see if that's gonna, yeah, that'll go through there. So basically just measure out your 3 centimeters. Bend it at a 90. Measure out another 3 centimeters. The other end. Make sure you're going in the same direction here. Bend it at a 90. So we want that to more or less be able to lay flat. And then we're going to need some, at least a pilot hole to get it started. T-pin's always good for that, because you want to poke a hole into the plastic, and we want to slide it through about there. And let's go ahead and get our pilot hole going for over here. These things always seem to come out less than straight. Okay, I'm gonna redo that. See how it came through the wood out here under the covering? It's hard to get them to go straight through, and you want your holes to be precisely the right distance. So I'm going to go ahead and remark these. Just a little up. I went ahead and changed the location of the spring. Instead of having it be up here, I put it down here. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I think it's probably better to have the spring closer to the horn. They also show it that way in the directions. Get those pressed all the way down against the wood, and then put a drop or two of CA into the hole. Okay, gonna let those dry for a few minutes. And then we're gonna put them onto our tail here, tape them into place so they don't move, and it's going to be time to run our cables. Now, they give us extra springs, and I just dropped one. Definitely keep these. Don't try to find some imaginative use for them, like double the springs up. We've got just enough. Keep these in case these weaken to the point where they're unusable. And then you've got replacements. Likewise with the rubber bands, they give us 2 sets. We're going to need one on either side for our spoiler. These keep the spoiler down. There's a couple of wooden hooks, fiberglass hooks, that we're going to be putting in place, and those will pull the slat spoiler closed as the servo releases. You can set up your spoiler however you want on your radio. If I was just doing a glider straight up with no power, I would have set mine to the throttle. So I had a variable amount of spoiler to add. Because I don't, I'm putting it on my D switch here, which is a 3-way. So I'm going to have a no spoiler, half spoiler, full spoiler, and back off again. So that way, if I just need to slow it down a little bit, I can add a bit of spoiler, put it to the halfway mark, and then when if I really need it to slow it down dramatically and lose some altitude, give it full spoiler, and that will not only slow the glider, but it will also make it drop pretty dramatically. If you've never flown with a spoiler before, they're quite nice to have for landings when you're trying to make a landing that's, on spot somewhere, or if you've got a short field. Spoiler's great. You bring it in, you pop the spoiler, and down she comes. Now we have a bunch of these little tubes. These we are going to be using with our cables very shortly. You will see how all of that goes. Here are our cables. I'm going to go ahead and start unwinding these. Looks like instead of giving us one long piece of cable, they've given us two already prepared lengths. I'm sure there's a good bit of slack in these. Be careful as you unwind it. You see how it's trying to get away on me? And it has. Now you got to be really careful because you don't want any kinks in these wires. So very gently pull the spaghetti apart. And we've got miles of extra. That's fine. We're going to want it. So I'm just going to set these out over here. And while these are drying, I'm going to go ahead and tape them in place. And this is how they recommend you attach your tail feathers. Okay, now I've got a couple swizzle sticks rubber banded together somewhere here. Okay, I'm going to bump the camera real quick. Like this. I'm going to go ahead and set up another pair of these. They're just drink stirrers. You can get them off Amazon or any place else. Any place that sells like bar stuff. As in alcohol drinking bar. And then I use these little rubber bands. They're like for hair. Got some of these for my wife. She probably got them at the local drugstore. You don't want them too tight, but you don't want them loose either. So you'll figure it out for yourself shortly when you try it. But this is a very handy way of setting up your tail feathers. Because you want your tail feathers to be flat. That's a great way to make sure that they are almost I mean, the spring is definitely working against me, but this definitely helps make sure that they are reasonably perpendicular. So go ahead and pause up for a minute. I'm going to start with one wire. I'm going to slide it through one of our two slots here. Okay. Feed it through the hole in the bulkhead. Okay, so now I need to change these because when I put these on the servos, I had them centered and the servos are now at an angle. So I need to turn these a little bit. Actually, as long as I'm here, I might as well thread this through. Actually, they don't go through that way. Okay. Living and learning. That's not perfectly horizontal, but trimming will do that when I adjust center points. Okay, honey, hang on. Okay, I'm going to pause up for a second and identify a lost phone. I apologize. Some things didn't get into one of the videos. It wasn't in frame, and something that I thought was recording didn't get recorded. So I want to kind of go over some things. This is what I was doing with the swizzle sticks. You can do this for almost any kind of tail feathers, and it holds them aligned level for whenever you're ready to make adjustments. I also didn't get to show you how this part was done. It's easy enough. If you are using the round servo wheels like I'm using, you attach those, and basically you attach the wire to that first after you've run it from the tail section through. Basically just get the screw started here, one of the small screws, wrap it at least once around, and then tighten the screw down on top of it. That anchors it in place, and that's all you need to do for the front, other than have your servos in position. Then you come to the rear of the plane, and you take your wire. You have these little tubes right here, and as you can see, they're flared at one end. So if this wire is coming from the fuselage out, start with the end that is not flared, because that will make it easier when you're having to push the second wire through at a time when you loop it back. So you're just going to loop it back into this tube like so, and pull in the slack so that this wire is taut and that this up here is tight. You don't want a large loop. You want a tight little elliptical loop like that. Then you can position the tube wherever you want it and just crimp it, you know, 2 or 3 times with your needle nose pliers or a pair of regular pliers, whatever you have. And then once it's crimped, tip the fuselage up so that you can put a drop or two of CA, and the CA will wick right into the tube that's where it's crimped. It'll get into the wind of the wire, and it will make this permanent resident. And then you're done with that one, and then move on to the next one. Now, definitely do one wire at a time. It doesn't matter whether you do the left one or the right one first, but get that done so the wire is taut running down the tail boom and into the fuselage. Otherwise, when you if you try to do both wires at the same time, run them both, they will get twisted around each other, and you'll have binding issues, because once they're tight, if they're wrapped even one time around, you're going to get some sticking action, and you won't get consistent action. So, you know, once you've run one, slide the second one through, just like you saw me do. Use the needle nose pliers to retrieve it and feed it through the hole in the forward bulkhead, get it into the nose compartment, and then grab it at both ends and make sure that you can move it freely, that it didn't get wrapped, that it didn't you know, form a conflict with the second wire. If you do one at a time completely, so in other words, you don't even start feeding the second wire until the first one is anchored and taut. That'll make things a lot easier for you, and you have less chance of problems. So now that these are together, I would take these off, and I don't mean just the swizzle sticks, I mean the wires. Fire up your radio, turn your servo max to take slack out of the wire and basically down elevator, and then unhook these cables, tape them, and that will make these keep these springs from getting worn. You don't want to leave things tensioned for long periods of time. So that's what I'm going to do now. Go ahead and get my radio turned on. I'll show you how I'm doing this. Okay, so all you really need to do is hold your elevator down and then unplug. That's going to be hard to do. Okay, so now the servos are rotated and the elevators are in the down position. Get the transmitter out of the way, turn it off. So now I can lift these up and pull my wires out of the hook. These things are tight. It's not easy as it looks. It might not be a bad idea to take a little sandpaper and slightly enlarge the slot here so that these things can come out nice and easy. There we go. And this way I don't have to worry about the wires getting dropped into the fuselage and having to try to fish them out. I can just let these hang, and that way the springs are not going to weaken prematurely. Now, I had mentioned that I was going to set up these batteries so that I could, so that they wouldn't move in the fuselage. And I am going to do that now. I want to get this unwound here. That's definitely better if that's off to the side, out of the way. About there ought to do. Get my other battery out and do the same. This is slightly narrower than the first piece. It's not going to matter. In fact, I may actually peel this one off because it's a little bit on the edge. I don't need a huge amount. This isn't going to bounce around or come loose. I just need enough Velcro to keep this in place. Keep it from sliding forward and backwards, and that's not a lot. I could use a small fraction of what I'm actually putting on here. I don't want to make it difficult to get the batteries out. Go. And then that's just going to plug in like that. Battery's not going to go anywhere. And then I can set my center of gravity. There we go. So that's pretty much it for the electronics. Just need to mount the prop, set up the spinner, and set up the spoiler. So that will be in the next video. I hope you guys have been enjoying this video. I hope this helps you if you buy one of these. I haven't flown it yet, so I can't speak to its flight characteristics, but it is an extremely well-built kit. I'm really impressed with ArmSoar. I'm really looking forward to building my other ArmSoar kit, my carbon fiber plane, the Fury. This is going to be a very nice plane. I'm really looking forward to it. I definitely recommend getting one. If you have the money, get it pre-built. Save yourself the time. If you love doing the woodwork and you've got the time between now and the beginning of the season, go ahead and save yourself the $200. But if you do the math, when you think about it, the cost of covering, glue, all the other knickknacks, plus your personal time, it's actually a really nice deal.